Hello, Abnormal Family. I've got another encounter for you I think y'all are going to enjoy, and pretty sure you probably have not heard one like this one, so I think you're going to really enjoy this one. Um, I'd like to say a few prayers for the people here in Oklahoma that was hit by tornadoes tonight. A lot of towns that are close to us were hit very hard by, yet again, more large tornadoes. So, especially people in Barnesdall over in Bartlesville, my prayers go out to you guys. This story takes place 10 years ago when I was a senior in high school. I grew up in a rural part of South Carolina. My friends and I would go camping just about every other weekend when the weather was good, and sometimes even when it wasn't. We just loved the outdoors and never needed an excuse to get out into the woods and spend some time in nature. This story occurs during one of those camping trips. I would never call myself sensitive or anything like that, and I never saw paranormal things that I could recall growing up. It wasn't even until I was an adult and way after the events of this story took place that my grandma would tell me I used to see ghosts when I was a little kid. Whatever that means, Grandma, and not that I remember any of this myself. However, I would and still do have feelings about places. Like I would walk into a house and immediately know that I did not like the energy or feeling of the place. Or walk into somewhere and feel warm and at peace, but never anything visually. Now, on this camping trip, we were going to spend a night on one of my friend's family's hunting properties, which was situated inside a national forest which will remain nameless for the sake of our peace and people not coming around our house. I had never been there, nor had any of my other friends going on this trip. There were 5 of us in total, and we all drove our separate cars to the location. We got there, drove down some long dirt roads that were basically just glorified trails to a small clearing where we planned to set up camp. We spent some time setting up some tarps with our chairs underneath, and I strung my hammock where I planned on spending the night, in between the roll bar of my Jeep and a tree. After camp was all set up, we spent some time hiking the trails and exploring the woods, just really enjoying some time out in nature. Everyone was having a good time, even my good friend Craig, who, despite being one of the most nature-loving people I've ever met in my life, always had to be dragged kicking and screaming on camping trips. Craig is one of 2 people from high school that I still talk to this day. One of my best friends, and more importantly to this story, was adamant that the paranormal did not exist. We all made our way back to camp as the sun started getting low in the sky, and I started getting materials together for a fire and preparing for the night. My friend Mike, whose family the land belonged to, rallied us all together to the idea of playing some manhunt once I got completely dark. All of us were on board with the idea. Who doesn't love tracking their friends down in the woods in the middle of the night? So once it got dark, me, Craig, and our other friend Randy set out into the woods to hide while Mike and our friend Chris hung back and waited to come look for us. We ran down one trail, then turned down another, found a nice slope to hide, and we waited. Now, after about 45 minutes or so, we of course started getting bored and gave a couple of shouts to point to the other 2 in the general area we were. They started getting closer and closer, and eventually a beam from their flashlight finally found us, and we all 3 took off in different directions. I backtracked down one of the trails we had originally come down, illuminated only by the moonlight, until I came to the crossroads where that trail crossed the trail that goes to the camp. I found a particularly thick bit of brush and a tall grass and decided that would do just fine to conceal me. It would also let me monitor the trail to see if anyone goes by. I was laying there in the grass and brush for maybe 5 minutes when the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I could not figure out what was causing this, and that's when I noticed the woods got completely silent. All bugs, frogs, and birds just went silent. I could hear my heartbeat and my breathing, and something inside, something primal, told me, I have to leave right now. I have to find my friends. So I said, screw this game, and just took off running back down the trail towards where my friends were. The relief I felt when I got back to my friends and found all four of them together way down the trail. I was the last one to be found, but I did not care. And almost instantly I felt better and brushed it off as me just psyching myself out. And I didn't mention anything, not a thing about it, to any of them. So back toward the camp we went. We took kind of a roundabout way to get there, just enjoying the good weather and listening to the sounds of nature, which had at some point returned to their normally scheduled program. We made our way back to the crossroads where I had been laying in the grass before. Mike, Chris, and Randy were all walking side by side in front, and just behind them Craig and I were walking side by side as we crossed the intersection of trails. I was on Craig's right and looking toward him as we were talking. As we crossed the intersection, Craig casually shined his flashlight down the crossing trail to the left, and there, caught right in the beam of the light, was a perfect silhouette of a person halfway stepped into the trail from the woods. It had no definition besides the outline, and it was completely gray. It had one leg and most of its torso and all of its head in the trail, with only its other leg and foot behind it still in the woods. Craig and I took maybe another step and a half, as if just an autopilot, until I said, "Wait, what was that?" Craig said, "You saw that too?" As we both took a step back, and he shined his flashlight back down the trail, but there was nothing. We immediately told the other three, who told us we were just seeing things, or thought we were joking. Now Craig and I even better look at it than I did, and he confirmed what I saw, which was that it was the perfect shape of a person, completely gray in color, and absolutely could not be mistaken for anything else. So finally, back at camp, and despite the other three disregarding what we saw, everyone slept in their cars that night. Everyone except me, whose Jeep was tiny and completely open. So there I was, laying in my hammock, in the middle of the woods, after just seeing a ghost or something, all alone and exposed and staring up at the stars, just hoping when I close my eyes that I don't open them to see someone standing right over me. I did not, thank goodness, and the next day we packed everything up and we headed out. While we were heading out, we were stopped by a ranger. He asked us if we had heard him last night, and of course we told him no, we hadn't heard anything, that we played games part of the night and then we had crashed early. He informed us that there was a man in a gray suit that had been working, that had had a flat and had stopped and got lost, and they had found him dead upon the highway. He was hit by a car. And the first thing I thought was, the person I seen standing in the trail was also gray. Was this the same man that we seen? Was this a demon? I don't know what it was, but we never went back to those woods, and I'll never go camping there again. Whatever it was, it gave me an evil feeling, and I felt like we should not have been there that day. I really don't know what to say about this one, guys. It is a more of a, I guess, a demon, I would say. So I would just rebuked. It's what I would have done in Jesus' name, and then carried on. That's about all I would have known to have done in this case. And if you ever feel like that in the woods, that's what I would suggest doing. I hope you all enjoyed this one, and until next time, guys, keep your head on a swivel, and don't be something's dinner.